Are we good? Awesome. Okay, good evening, good afternoon, good evening, good early Saturday. Is it Sunday? I really don't know what day it is. I think my name is Mike Henry. I'm the executive director here at Lighthouse. Thank you so much for being here at the Poetry Collective reading. Thanks for attending Lighthouse. Yes, it's very exciting. I am very excited too. It's the last day of LitFest. Yes, I'm going to be sad, but my feet are going to be happy. So I'm really excited to be here for this reading. As a fellow poet myself, I'm really proud of the Poetry Collective. I think it's an amazing program. And as we all know, poetry is the highest art. So one announcement while I'm thinking about it. I hope you will stay for the closing party, which begins at 6 o'clock. And we're going to be celebrating 2 posthumous books written by Chris Rancic, who is a beloved faculty member and good friend to many in the Lighthouse community. And we're just going to be celebrating. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm just going to turn it over to HR.
Welcome, everybody. Can you all hear me okay? Thank you, Michael. Welcome to our 2022 Poetry Collective graduation reading. I'll just say a little bit about the collective here. We're a manuscript-focused intensive year mentored by Carolina Abade, who you'll see up here pretty soon in the top left box up there, and myself, H.R. Hagnauer. Each poet in our program has written a really, truly original and vital work for our times. And I just couldn't be more proud of working with each of our poets, sitting over here and up on the screen, of course. I also wanted to just extend a big thank you to Lighthouse and to Torrin Jensen. I'm not sure where you are right now, but thank you so much for helping usher this work forward. This afternoon, we'll hear from each of our poets, and you'll see a little bit of a bouncing back and forth between our Zoom and in-person readers. Our opening reader will be Dax Carswell. The Idaeid by Dax Carswell is written with an epic nod to Homer himself. The main character, Idaeus, finds himself at the crossroads and is forced to question his purpose, a transformation brought upon by experiences of love, family, generational expectations, eco-destruction, and lore. Caught in the paradoxes created by unsustainable conditions, he attempts to articulate and then navigate the big question: how do we keep showing up with presence and participate in our families and communities, all while remaining open to the revelations that can restructure the heart of the world? It's my pleasure to welcome Dax, who also just graduated with his MFA in Creative Writing and Poetics from Naropa University. Congratulations, Dax, who you'll see up here on the screen now.
Hello. I'm having some technology issues, so I think I can get today's voice. But thank you for the intro. I much appreciate it. I'll be reading today from chapter 4 of the project that I completed. It's entitled His Mother's Son, and it opens with 2 epigraphs, but both of them are by me. The tongue of man comes from heaven, but your name is spoken only in flowers. Let every tower fall to pieces, and every name save ours become unknowable. The white whistle of the spear had taken him away from that cliff that represents unlikely death. And who should hold that spear but a man with hair in his eyes and a wild desire for freedom? A moment, let the flare of deities take hold on the 2 men. The quick powdering and a gentle wipe in time still expanse. Clean that rough face. The clockwork mirror ticks, hums, counts, and compasses. The whirring like sweet music, like the music of the spheres. A moment, let the flare of deities take hold on the 2 men. The pelt of fur upon his waist and a careful knot untied in a hair of black wildness. Clean his face of sweat. The plants he walks between and crosses over seem to reach out and swallow dirt like the hungry worms who dig endlessly. A moment. How will they speak? What is said and how mutual is the understanding? Surely Adam could not have understood the words of a sinner 1,000 generations hence. No language escaped Eden. Any primal word, any perfect name vanished, stolen by the angel at the gate whose flaming sword burned away the tongues of man. Or did it? Perhaps this is not the case. Perhaps the mother, in the form of fertility, let language flow freely from the open womb. Let it be nourishing. Let it be beautiful and all-encompassing. Let it flow eternally. Venus, Venus, Venus. She has a different name here. She has a different face here. She has a different form here. But beauty, that of hers is endless and always all-consuming. That is how the men spoke. That is how the names were communicated. Idaeus, says the man. Narjula, says the man. Together they sang, as one they say. My mother sang to my father when I was a young man. My mother sang to my father because her singing was the only thing in the world that could call him or calm him. My mother was a siren and my father was a brute. The world was young. My mother sang to the world. My mother sang to me before I was born and afterwards. She was sweet all throughout her existence. She was a tower. She was a tree. She, more than anything else, existed. I exist only in reference to that. Genesis and self-love sing sweetly. Parthenogenesis, from the Greek parthenos, virgin, and genesis. Creation, reproduction by development of an unfertilized, usually female gamete, that occurs especially among lower plants and invertebrate animals. Would that it were so easy for me. Parthenogenesis is the act of self-birth and self-seeding that occurs when the rain touches the earth. Earth makes rain, rain touches earth, earth makes fruit. Parthenogenesis is the fruiting body. Parthenogenesis is the act of my mother who is divine and dead. Parthenogenesis is my birthright and my legacy. It drives all processes. I see it in the lizards that scamper around the edges of a cabin, and I see it in every clear pool of water. Myself, birthed by myself as well. A joyous motion seen by beautiful ripples, ripples endlessly in nature. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carolina Abade, and I'd just like to say thanks, Dax, for starting us off. It is my pleasure to introduce the next reader, Mary Kay Delaney, and her book, Refractions. At the center of this book is a house and its legal deed. Come with me, writes the poet, through midwinter rooms where candles light makes shadows sway. These shadows recall the glimmers of lived memory, safe in the domestic air. And those shadows evoke the strange bodies, the ghosts, those excluded from the communal space through racist laws. The book questions border, the border of those who live inside and those who stay out. Ekphrastic work, photography, stanzas, and prose block essays. Refractions uses the ethics of documentary poetics and the principles of the artist-poet to understand and to intervene into the past with a new singing. Let's welcome Mary Kay to the stage.
Thank you, Carolina. Wow. And then just a shout out to HR and Carolina for the year. Amazing. And to all our colleagues. So I'm going to read 3 poems. This first one is called Witness. One child woke happy and early. He raised his arms to be lifted. I motioned, let's not wake your brothers. On the ground, he put his hand in mine. Through the front door into spring we walked. We could not stray far. Two babies still slept. We adventured in silence. He pointed to butterflies on marigolds, honeybees on clover, bumblebees in bushes, pistils, stamens, petals, stems. We inspected intensely and loved them all. We could not go far. Two babies still slept. We found on the last flower, near the brick footing of the house, a swallowtail butterfly, brilliant yellow, velvet black, wings moving together and away, a bit off, gentle, shaky, uncertain. We could not wander far. Two babies still slept. My son pointed. I looked closely. Under the velvety, withering butterfly, another body, adorned with a single hourglass. Life and death and life, beautiful terror. My son slid his hand in mine. We could not move. Two babies still slept. Thanks. This is called Deed Indeed. Indeed inscribed, indeed, in law, in words, on bodies, in schools, through our streets, our lives, in our relationships, all of them. This deed still in our deeds. See it indeed, see it indeed, see it. And the last is called Fractals. It's a poem form that was inspired by the duplex poem invented by Jericho Brown. The heart moves words the shell holds. I hear my own breathing, my children's, my loves. I hear my own pulsing, my children's, my loves. Structure that holds from tiny to big to veins in my arms. Structures that hold from tiny to big to arteries in minds, through generations and centuries into now and hereafter, boundaries and neighborhoods here, now, and after. In ghosts we carry the stories we tell. In ghosts we inherit the stories we shelter. I see hidden voices, the truths and the lost. I dread my own deafness, my blindness, the cost. In children growling, laughing, so hungry to find us. In dreams wrapping silk through visions that bind us. The shell moves words, the heart holds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. I have the privilege of introducing Glynis Eldridge, who's in New York. Her book, Average Regular Stuff. Here is a poetics of ambling, of walking through New York City streets and recording the noise, discord, pleasures, advertising, crowdedness, and loneliness. Average regular stuff reinvents the tenets of the New York School poets. It instead discloses the disaster as part of the everyday encounter. Here, the onslaught of war headlines and sexual violence and environmental disaster are a part of the average, the regular, the ordinary and frenetic stuff of our lives in the Anthropocene. Written in prose blocks and stanzas, the book toggles between spareness and a beautiful excess, spoken from an eye that moves through the cityscape with a profound, humorous, vulnerable intelligence. Quote, I don't like the dark because I want to see. I don't like the light because I don't want to be seen. Fiercely feminist, Average regular stuff is an urban epic unfolding. Welcome, Glynis.
Thanks so much, Carolina. It's been really an immense privilege to be part of this. And I'm extremely, extremely honored to have that introduction, so thank you. I'm going to read two poems. One is called How to Be a Person. You have the capacity to squish it all down. I could end up a chicken sandwich without accolades. I could use the internet to manifest a lover. We could have had a baby, but the closest we got to birthing was popping the massive pimple on my arm together in the shower. My foot hits the power button on all the x-rays in the condominium. Now I'm not only scannable, but the other living thing in the room. Who doesn't have it? The assumed feelings, the size of survival, padding through the marsh swamps without fear, dreams of sleeping in a big pita bed. For the hell of it, tattooing your face. What's the evidence? The assumed I'm me feeling. I forgot it all. The relief of a bug's life. I forget it all. Each memory returns once to die. The yellow of the lights of every room. The feeling of after moments of processing the present fading. The present subtly fading. The projection of moments ago. If I'm still here and you're not, then what? Size of survival, the toothpaste eating flies. Although I am an animal, you do not see me as an animal. Nature bathing in the highway's old growth forests, the tree broth. The weevil lifts from the lampshade. It returns again and again. It's a low watt bulb, but it's too hot for the bug to stay on. The weevil is trying to fly through the ceiling. It is not a sky. It's hardwood and plaster and paint. We are bobbing at the ceiling of the pond together, chugging nuclear bagels, cutting hair and watching the drakes fighting over the mallard, her gurgling pond water and flapping the surface. The drakes leave the water and waddle onto the lawn while the mallard bobs, head underwater. He smells like air, says all duck sex is rape. I'm looking for alternatives. I follow the cow's directions and lay down in the grass. I will myself into camouflage, get gray wanting to be green, was beige wanting to be anything but. I thought nothing of beige and nothing of nothing. Do fireflies have a word for sex? They find each other in my bed, linking to union. Like a long-nosed dog in a dust bath, you have a new expression for seriousness. It was me who let the devil in, my bad, for example. The wind was yellow, not like cat skin, but light. The wind was buttoned and I asked for it, not the yellow, but the movement. Forget the block. You're extremely confident for several years. Perhaps the reverb occurred. I can't swallow right. Water at the thought of day. Tell me how. I annoy you. If I knew more and better. If I left and sunk in elsewhere. If then I'd shine, sure I could, be confident, take the class on hitting back. Can't you see the world from where you stand? The park is not immune to memory, yet the feeling you get knowing you are no longer in a period of despair. I don't want to hold your flowers too dearly. They don't mean that much to me anymore. And the second poem is called Descaling Agent. The fullness of the act of having flickered, having flicked, having tried to kiss, the flickering dog face while waiting to get online, waiting to recall, having recalled the moments of recall of learning to the you know, and the learning of the you know, and the watching of that, it, as to quantify it, that feeling, as to scale it, that the feeling, told to cool it with the empathy though. The dog doesn't eat alone, though it's not about the news. The dog doesn't know about the coup attempt. Lately, just so slow-minded, like full torso to the boogie board, bobbing on a moon pole, waiting for the big one. Unfortunately, this is all sad stuff, intense words I resist sharing, but thanks anyway. Split the bottle, spin it, familiar laugh with me. In a very short dream, I went to the highway that was also a beach, that was also a desert, and in a more recent dream, the herder who took me there told me of their fully healed heart they had finally given to someone else and asked me for my advice. In pre-surveillance, I made no plans. Now I'm the glass and you're the scrub. In the virus, there are ads for things happening in 10 months. I don't know what to write, but things are happening, and I don't know what is happening. It's been so many years of question marks, so many interruptions in the form of everything and what of it all, what will happen, snotting away in there. At least the clarity of green goo. I'm sure I have it, being so cavernous. Virality is a mythical experience. Could I be contagious? Oh, that sneezing, reenacting the feelings of living but with some breakdown, an extra line over forehead, an extra gesture of recall. What will happen? The feeling of needing in response to the feeling of certain expectation, like something is surely bound to happen, but what exactly is to be very eventually known. But like we've been witnessing, things do in case, because things do indeed happen, and the happening things are short and long form events. Indeed, the dog continues to wake at 3 a.m. to bark, his fear of being left forever in the night, and as such we should prepare. We should be prepared for it all. And what is it all? What kinds of things can happen? What can be prepared for? It's more than expected. But there's always sweeping that could be done, in prep, always mopping, the emails, the regularity of this is not yet, the new thing, the new happening. It is something like, sorry, I have only this bag I can offer you, but it is still a bag and still a thing you possess and offer, and you still exist in your space, and as such, the secret is that we go on living. And like that, things happen, and things keep happening, and we keep prepping, and as such, things continue and continue, and I feel and feel and feel and feel and wait and feel and hear it and feel it and yada, yada. Behold the world, behold the wolf man, yowling on the congressional balcony. The dog thinks we have left him again. We are upstairs and he is downstairs. It is 2:53 a.m. every night. He knows we are gone. She tells him no barking, and there is optimism in that, insofar as he is deaf. I've been tasked to document the sun, whatever that means to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glynis. Our next reader is Hakeem Furious. Did you just step out, or is he back? Okay. I think he's in the back with his adorable daughter. The mystic poet Rumi reminds us, beyond the field of binaries, I will meet you there. What the mystics know is that in such beyond place, the organizing categories of past, present, and future are replaced with more imaginative and simultaneous options. It is with this sort of power that Hakeem Furious translates into his written and performance work a sense of vivid passion. His remarkable book, I Am a Terrible Person and I Know It, is a profound representation of Black male American experience, while also serving as a meditation on dismantling colonializing systems of oppression. It is both particular and cosmic, focused and always opening. Hakeem is dedicated to the art of spoken word in its many iterations, including stand-up comedy, hip-hop, and certainly poetry. His work invites us to understand that these places are indeed sites of transformation and liberation. Please welcome Hakeem Furious.
Thank you for that intro, HR. That was dope. What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling? Good? Made it through a long 8 days, it looks like. Yeah, survivors. Okay. I'm gonna read these two poems from the book. One has been more a performance piece, and then one I don't get a chance to read enough. So it's a mix of both. But this one is called Black Magic. It starts off with an epigraph from Sun Ra from his movie Space is the Place. If you find Earth boring, just the same old, same thing, come on, sign up for our Spaceway Incorporated. If you find Earth boring, just the same old, same thing, come on, sign up for our Spaceway Incorporated. Me and my niggas put the war in Warlock, spell casting under the solstice. Dice game transmutation circles, herbs to ritual fire, mixing potions in the back of a Cadillac. Protected by black cats and black gats, our co-star coalitions will dap you up and read your palms. Psalms, manifesting molecularly, hexes from my exes or a new magic wand, twisted with tourmaline on onyx grid lines. What is ancestral cannot be fooled by smoke and mirrors. My people defy space and time. Our memories portal jump through our bloodstream. My grandmother could see the future. I was 7. She handed me a notebook and said, "You're going to be a writer." My high school graduation, she gifted me a set of luggage. That's how I ended up in front of you today. We are fulfilling prophecies where I can no longer fetishize my sickness. I must alchemize the venom alkaline, like the way we turn words into money or spellcast a crowd in less than a minute. If you find Earth boring, just the same old same thing, come on, sign up for our Spaceway Incorporated. If you find Earth boring, just the same old same thing, come on, sign up for our Spaceway Incorporated. That's our first piece. This next one is, I don't even remember how I started writing it, but it just came. But it's called The Spotlight. I can become anything you want me to be. A filament of your imagination, a stage sun leading you out of the shadows, only if you can follow directions. They want me to go high jump, hit a high note, see if I can get high. Want me to be Snoop, Bob Marley, twist me up and burn me to a crisp. Watch the smoke rise to the high risers, hot box the box seats, high in the box office, put you on a pedestal, on a high horse, in a high security museum, high maintenance, high yellow, only want to see your highlight reel. If you want to go higher, you must be for higher. But I can go low, a low blow, get on one knee, get on both knees, below the belt, on the down low, want me down bad, baritone, more Barry White, less Barry Manilow, Melvin, dancing into temptation. I'll sign away my name for the low, below the Mason-Dixon, low enough to tell you if hell is hot as this new record. It's lo-fi. Some days I want fame so bad, I'm willing to sacrifice everything for the highs and the lows. Thank you. And I've been trying this new thing at shows, and it's if you have AirDrop, if you turn your AirDrop on, I'm airdropping poems from at every show, and if you come to enough shows, then you'll have a mini chapbook. But if you're curious in getting a poem from the book, just turn your AirDrop on, and it'll go straight to you. And thank you.
Thank you, Hakeem. I love that airdrop chapbook idea. That's awesome. Thank you. Our next reader, Laura Hessian, is not able to be with us this afternoon, sorry, a little reverb. I just wanted to share a little bit about her project. All of these manuscripts are so amazing. I'm just loving this afternoon, and so I hope you really look for these books in the very near future. Laura's manuscript is called The Wife of Icarus, but this is not an Icarus story. She has written a completely new story inspired by life, history, and tragedy. This is not a cautionary tale about a mythical boy who disobeys his father. Wings do not break when he crashes into the sea. Rather, in this story, we meet Icarus's wife, who was omitted from the original narrative. We meet her at the site of her absence, where the very place where her presence becomes a perfume that wakens us all as readers. Her story is told in 3 voices, all animated with the frequencies of raw wisdom rooted in both grief and love. The oracle speaks to her, the snake goddess knows her name. All these holy emanations are aspects of the same woman. So I'm sorry we won't be able to hear from Laura this afternoon, but look for her book, The Wife of Icarus, one day. Our next reader, though, joining us will be Monsi Hans. Monsi asks us to remember Bertolt Brecht's iconic question, in the dark times, will there be singing? Yes, there will be singing about the dark times. From here, we enter Monsi's little rooms, which are a reflection of her visions, from observation, reading, and interacting with others. The pulse of her collection decenters herself as the narrator, as she is able to bear witness to others' stories while speaking from her truth. Through Monsi's poetic kindness in both understanding and providing a voice to the voiceless, we, the readers, embody Brecht's call to sing during these dark times. And for this, we become deeply grateful. Please welcome Monsi Hans up here.
HR, thank you so much for your kind introduction. Namaste, everybody. I'm so grateful to share space with all of you today. I'm going to be reading 3 poems, and I'd like to share my screen with everybody today. The first poem is dedicated to my mother because of who I am. So I'm just going to share my screen. I hope everyone can see the screen. So here we go, the first one. Through a cranny in the door, I saw my mother in our living room, her contours draping 18 feet of tussar, the hue of poppy blooms, the slant of her hand around a cold coffee, words like discovery, perseverance, agreement spilling from her lips. Her feet, the outline of dreams, planting cradles in bustiers of blue sky. I grew shy for never having seen her. Through the cranny in the door, at the grown-up gathering, she was no longer just a mother. Thank you. The second poem is an encounter, a passive encounter that I had with somebody that was standing next to me at a traffic light. View from my glass window. At the red light, my taxi halts, next to inaudible screams of naked feet, his salt-soaked body, pulling and falling and falling and pulling, the shafts of a splintered woodcart, swollen with gleaming afterthoughts, and his little daughter sitting atop, hiccuping in her oversized uniform, waving wild hands, wearing a new song. Overhead, the burly afternoon sun drapes them in mesmerized awe. My third and final poem for the day, For a Quiet Prayer, is based on an article that I recently read, and it's about the atrocities that so many face in the world around us. For a quiet prayer, I pressed my ears between two yellow marigolds. Where I wanted to belong was disappearing, yet my body burnt with hope, spelled H-O-P-E. These 4 letters caught in the muzzle of my mouth. My body, pulled by my pigtails, past the old ground swings, past the echoes of 9 times 8 equals 72, past my ma's helpless squat, to repay our family's $900 debt. Debt also means amount due, outstanding payment, arrears, liability. The man I called Uncle, who looked like my papa, pulled me. A bit of blood inking our mud road again. Is he going to tear my curves and eat them? Put his manhood inside my mouth? A new man, maybe 2, between my legs? Green leaves grew in the sunset sky. His face gleamed with the greed of a new landlord seeking maximum profit from his property. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Monsi. Thank you for sharing with us those lines. I'm going to introduce Rabah Kamal, whose book is Leaning Over the Kitchen Sink, Sucking the Last Bits of Mango Off the Pit. This labyrinthine book moves through memory and observation to reach a dark and dynamic center where the psychic wound and its healing reside side by side. Rabah Kamal is a poet of the senses, taste and touch and smell. There, even in the title, we are holding the mellifluous and dripping fruit. As we too hunch over the sink, assuming a posture of devotion. The poems work in diasporic time, of the smaller culture inside the larger one, the small aleph inside the capital A, experimenting with languages of Punjabi and Urdu inside English, and what should remain untranslatable, unresolvable. Quote, in English, we have dreams. In Urdu, we see them. Let me put the emphasis. In English, we have dreams. In Urdu, we see them from the places where they flash before you, the places where you can cradle them in your arms. And this is what the poet grants us, a dream notebook in our hands. Welcome, Rabah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Whew, Carolina. So appreciative for you. Thank you for being our guide these 9 months, and thank you, HR. Have a couple poems for you all today. I was thinking about which ones to share. I was thinking today about our tiredness, the tiredness I know a lot of us have been feeling, perhaps more than ever before, maybe not. So this poem is for our tiredness and our getting through with our tiredness. It's called You Curl Up. You curl up as tight as you can curl, hide in the cocoon of safe, quiet, dark. And you stay hiding here, avoiding thinking, letting the headache from a whole day of thinking in circles, pulse, pulse. And then you reach for the shades, then you reach for the shades. And you pause from the effort, you pause from the effort, and you pull, until the light comes in, until the light slinks on in. And once again, here you are again. It's another morning, another whole open day. If you're silent in the backyard on a hot day, you'll hear the dragonfly flitting here and there in the sprinkler water. It's buzzing, buzzing, so loud. Surely the nearest star can hear it. This next poem is about our longings, and Carolina gave a wonderful preview, so I'm so happy that I planned to share it today. It's called Lashkar Ki Tamanna. Dreams will either lead you out or drag you out, from the places where they flash before you to the places where you can cradle them in your arms, yours to nurture, yours to feed, yours to step into when they are fully grown skin suits with pin-tucked shoulders and polished gun belts tailored to fit you just so. In English, we have dreams. In Urdu, khwab dekhte hain. We see them. A classic case of look but don't touch, see but do not hope to possess. Khwab dekho, look at it, beautiful, fauj, my fauj. In Urdu, ambitions are a having thing. I saw in a dream that all the dreams I've ever had, every murky, creepy, lost and giggling one, rose from my chest, slipped like smoke out of my nose, formed factions and armed themselves, Kwabonk soldiers hunkered in the corners of storm clouds, where they waged war upon war, trading Fauji for Fauji, year upon year. I lost every possibility my brain ever screened for me to this battle in between. And every year, with each birthday candle, I sent a solitary Fauji out to try to beg them back together, with instructions to lay her weapon at her feet, to say, if we can see it another way, we can have it another way. I saw what happened to each one every time. She insisted until the end. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rabah. Our next reader is Marilyn K. Moody. Marilyn's flatland home is the epitome of holding a deep sense of poetic place. Her work allows us to enter the lives of a constellation of people living on the Illinois prairie. Marilyn's poems bring the reader into a sometimes surprising and not so simple rural Midwestern world. The author takes us through the lives of distinct characters in this place. Embedded in the poems is a shifting eye as we go in and out of people's stories. The work describes rural and small town life and the relationships, losses, triumphs, and the sometimes casual violence found there. Other poems describe everyday pleasures such as eating sweet corn, driving to the Tasty Freeze, or celebrating New Year's Eve. Organic imagery such as mourning doves and quails, fields, sounds, and bitter, bitter cold, and silence thread the manuscript. Flatland Home asks us what the larger meaning of, quote, home is while preserving an intimate focus on individuals. Please welcome Marilyn.
Thank you, HR. It's great to be here tonight. I'm going to read 4 poems for you. My father tells me about rabies. Rabies, my father said, every stray dog has them. Make straight lines in the grass when you mow. Rabies, he said, although raccoons have it too. Spray the apple trees with strong pesticide. Rabies, he said, if you get it, you will die. Don't forget to pull those weeds by the house. Rabies, he said, days of shots in your stomach. Break the leaves into piles and don't jump in them. Rabies, he said, never let a bat land in your hair. Thank you. August night at the Tasty Freeze. Pile into the back seat of the car, stuck in the middle, squirming. My brother and sister hang, arms out the windows, streaming hands, trying to cool off. Drive country back roads, past fields in slow motion. Does the corn look good? Is that field better than ours? My father says. My mother tells him, our crops look good. Don't fret and worry about it. We get to town. The high school girl takes our order. We can choose chocolate or vanilla, small or baby cones. Careful not to drop it. Don't drip on the seats. Taste cold, cold, cold. Catch the swirls, tip of the tongue, smooth the ice cream, crunch, yellow cake cone, fingers sticky, white napkin. We drive home in the dark now, cooler now. We cannot see the fields. We see only the beams of our headlights. We see only the backs of the heads of our mother and father who are silent. Potato bugs, flicking off striped beetles into a glass bottle, gas in a match, fire to death. Tractor God, climb onto the spider web cushion of the tractor seat, stretch legs to touch the floor as grimy as a burning barrel. Gold key dangles from the ignition, silver wire rings so tempting. Must not touch or turn or flip on the lights and blink, blink them. Must be sure to leave them off. Avoid my father's wrath of finding a dead battery. But I am the tractor god, and I make light appear, not once, but twice. Blink, blink. Recklessly then, a mistake like death. I press the gray, bruise-like welt of the tractor horn button. It shrieks in pain. Wonka, Wonka! My father comes running. Tractor God no more, only a child crouching on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. I'm going to introduce Twyla Nui, who's joining us from California. And she wrote Blue Day Book. Quote, I am a signaling from a window, writes Twyla Nui, in a book about the perception of blue, blue when it is encountered in water and sky, and the horizon line that merges them, an elusive and illusory line. In Blue Day Book, the horizon is the poetic line of verse, carrying a kinetic power, always moving. The poems wrestle with a devotion to the beautiful and an inherent trust of language, an inherent mistrust of language. This contention or dance troubles the blue heart of this work. And so the poet gives way to repetitiousness, to white typographic space, to visual compositions, erasures, paper collages, and the use of blue watercolor pigments, which obscure words on the page. Again and again, we see the evidence of the artist's hand in horizontal brushstrokes, rewriting the poem. Blue Day Book speaks in many tongues: memory, what one sees out the window, the distant and the close-up, how the nearby action affects the far away. It vocalizes a sky speech and water speech in the eco and the echo, rendering that horizon line legible. Let's welcome Twyla.
Thank you. Thank you, Carolina, for the introduction and for the past 9 months, and to my whole cohort. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to be in community with you and in company with your words. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Oh, shoot. Hold on. April 11th, Pacific. Blue meets blue, meets blue, meets blue, meets. When distances disappear into blue, we say horizon. To make a horizon readable, we pretend time is linear. Forever goes on like this, as far as I can tell. Clutch of Sundays. Plover, pronounced plover. An out-breath on the tongue, held in the mouth as an egg might break, open as a question followed by pause, as love. Subtract P and plover becomes lover, makes her nest in footprints in sand, a scattering, broken shell, bones, seagrass, a home, gathered of disappearance. Snowy plovers startle when a human child or dog gives chase. To make fear fly for fun risks abandonment of nests, of nexts. Still, humans can't be bothered to watch our step, can't be bothered to whisper, shh, love, tiptoe, go slow, slow, slow. Time, any of numerous, small, chiefly blue butterflies. Now, I'm looking through glass, rectangles there. That is called air. Can you see it? Waves, 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 What is intransitive? To turn the air with her mouth, stealing time. Thank you.
Thank you, Twyla, for performing it and for sharing some of those visual poems. Next is Phineas Sawyer and their book, The Land Swallows Us. The book says, when asked about your 5-year plan, open your mouth, let moss tumble from your tongue. And so with this directive, we are invited to enter this queer ecology that begins with the emergence of a new mind, new body of vegetal nature and human speech. The land swallows us, blurs that easy binary of gender, and writes into that blur. The poet writes into a hole in the ground, where the speaker has buried an object that needs to stay hidden, buried someone who will be remembered, and planted something that will blossom and resist. Let's welcome Finn.
Carolina, thank you. And thank you so much for the last year, and to my cohort and the entire program for this last year. It's been incredible. I'd like to share 2 poems. Burial. I do not now know whether these teeth jutting out of damp leaves were ever inscribed. Infant, 1 month, 2 months, well beloved, and poor, and poor, and poor. Generations of hardtack and darning and hymns sung, hands working dough in the smoky morning before echoes effervesced into the dimples and hollows of the land, hard and soft and hard again. Hands clasped in eternal supplication. Man and wife, man and wife, man. Beds pulled close together, sleeping chastity, pennied eyes, eternal hollows, grits and okra and biscuits and hymns. They make a marriage. What do we make with our soft and soft and soft? And will our beds be recognized, or will the jutted teeth betray letters enough only to hiss the devotion of friends? Calling. I don't know what to say to you. You make everyone feel comfortable. I am not comfortable. The precise way you turn the teacup when offering me coffee, the small cuts on your hands, the curve of your lip makes me nervous. You are trying so hard, so hard. I offer you roses, peach with yellow edges. You seem surprised. You retrieve the stepladder, select a heavy glass vase from when you were married, bring it down from a high cabinet, press your tiny fingertips into the dimples of the facets. You gave me coffee, so I could not read you in the tea leaves, but I carry bones just under my skin, and they shake. They tell me to be hawk-bold. I shake a 12-piece porcelain service out of the tablecloth, slice open a pear, pour champagne from its hollows. You catch it in a napkin, so I squeeze sunshine into your open mouth and snap your laptop, thunderclap shut. Your back is so straight. I unzip your spine. A pack of coyotes tumbles out of your ribs. You should have more. I grasp a pine cone and pull a mountain from my pocket, build a fire, cut your hair for kindling. I press an ember to your cheek and see the glow creep up your face into your dry eyes, catch a spark, and spread. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Finn. Our next reader is Jen Shirley. In Jen's No Beginnings, difficult events generate new ley lines in the landscape. Such fractures might be signs of stress on the one hand, but they are also new paths and maps forward, new ways through. They provide ways towards knowing and connection. Jen's transfixing book celebrates the question rather than privileging certainty. It opens to the revelations created through interruption. It welcomes the stranger as the guest. Energized by personal notebooks, photographs, technology, sketches, and other family artifacts, No Beginnings weaves together a vital map that will help us all navigate the charnel grounds of our hearts. Please welcome Jen Shirley.
Thank you, HR, and thank you, Carolina, and members of the Poetry Collective. This year, sharing work with you and talking poetry with you has felt really necessary. No Beginnings. When you believe you were expected to speak, when the interviewer tells you that you seem nervous, when you make a speech on top of a volcano and are told consolingly that your speech is appreciated since speaking is not your thing. When he is setting up cones and you are doing drills, tossing and running in traffic around cones, orienting lost words, surrendering, ordering lost words, ordering, locating care in lost words, or a series of empty benches on a volcano garden, because he wouldn't be sitting, of course, he would be seeking a sign or a sound or an image that did not exactly make the kind of sense you would expect. En route home, your phone call from LA, you had money left on your calling card you needed to get rid of. A friend and I came to visit on the turn of the millennium. We climbed up a volcano to see the sun, but it was cloudy. I went home. We conducted a relationship over an email that you only occasionally checked and a phone you only occasionally answered. You said I could move in with you if I wanted to. I wanted to. You acted like it was my idea. I came back, played rugby, poured pints, took photographs of rhododendrons. I didn't want to go home. You went south, stayed with your brother, and then went further south. Your plans not panning out, the tent getting old, and the Blenheim sun. We were going to do this. The midway point, you arrived 8 hours before with an old duffel bag and sun skin. We decided the black sand beach to witness our official engagement. You went back home. You planned when we do come to my home. We worried that you wouldn't be able to stay. We planned to go back to your home. We made a last-minute call to take our chances in mine. Crossing the Pacific on airplanes, crossing the Cook Strait, I'm in the center of a boat vomiting, and you are running around the decks exhilarated. I am stuffing up roundabouts. Maybe I'll finally get the hang of them. I tried to listen, and I didn't make it past the first chapter. It was like a letter to myself I kept rereading and rewriting, like Groundhog Day or not, wanting a perfect body, a perfect home, you to notice, a shot at redemption, the most important things. That this is how we spend our time, and this is how we treat each other. I had no idea how to care. What I remember is crying in a Herne Bay house. I remember thinking he could have said something besides, "I think you're wonderful." I remember sitting at my desk staring at a screen or writing as a passenger in the car. I remember having veto power over menu planning, and then I had to learn how to care. I have this note that says remnants of consciousness. I have this note that says no beginnings, Inc. A scrap that says uniform resource locator has disintegrated, proc still running. How cultural forms hold or spill or sift out remnants. How you frequently are talking to someone other than the person you appear to be talking to, lodged things, like this pumice under my right ribs, as bloodstreams and floating debris, all ink on this calendar, like the one I'm standing on. How did I meet him? I didn't meet him at first. I saw him setting up cones on a field, asked him questions about his travels, received schematic and rehearsed anecdotes, perhaps in response to uninteresting questions. I played pool with him. I shared a twin bed with him. But when I met him, we were on a ferry on the Cook Strait. I was in the middle of the boat vomiting. He was on a deck, taking in the weather. He didn't want to miss the first sight of the sounds. I met him when he was driving. I meet him now in paint. I wasn't in a place where I could hear your story, so I imposed mine, afraid of being derailed by, given away by what's left, 1,000 people I haven't thanked properly.
Thank you, Jen. I'm happy to introduce our last reader, Frederick Spears, who wrote Strophoria, A Dark Conceit. Quote, "To make a scene even sadder, all you have to do is add a point of light," writes Frederick Spears in the book whose process was to gather 20 years of his own discrete poems, translations, and notes in order to fragment and reorder the snippets. It's a method of decomposition in order to recompose. Structured like a compost pile, Strophoria builds 9 large poems out of that life of the mind matter, or 9 layers for the reader to descend. The sad points of light is the entryway into the underland, marked on the page by the poet's use of asterisks, which also marks the absence of the beloved. As we descend, we hear the multi-voiced mind at work, a chorus or a cacophony, at times a familiar vernacular, at times rhetorical, theatrical, archaic, or oracular. You'll encounter Catullus next to a youthful memory of conversion camp, next to a post-coital moment. Such is the geophony of this terrain. Our journey ends with the first layer, an erasure of a legal document which made illegal much of the queer erotic imagination. What a gorgeous intervention where erasure and erosion and eros meet. Welcome, Fred.
What an honor to be introduced by a dear friend and to have made more dear friends through Lighthouse. It's really been a spectacular experience. I'm going to read from the middle of the book. This is the fifth layer, the first few pages. Fifth layer. Of rejecting love for what it often lacks in the name of what it sometimes is. What else could these stained glass wings folding in on themselves withstand? Our living and our dead, like lichen grow on this row of garden statues, slow and with filthy questions, remembering the various gods of their religions, especially those open hands. Just when I thought I couldn't find one more feeling I'd like to be forgotten. May the fruit of our kind carpet the felled breath of their kindlessness. At first, the dark wood of their words may seem difficult to move beyond, but not impossible. For instance, everywhere that swells with song, where whatever hums inside are tangled, bright, and worrying notes, might be enough to arouse the undergrowth within us, this darker iridescence, waiting patiently, like more practiced fingers resting on piano keys. Following myself in silence, eyeing each heavenly body, where, like petals, I fumble against, loss after loss, the one before us, only the latest morning dew on a knotted root, I witness things, such things, unmolested by God's mercy. To break from his spell involves striking the set and disenchanting all of the props. Look, here, touch it, the lightning whip. It's just a leather belt my father wore. And the absence, I call myself, in the harness that gave me flight once. Cloudbursts below and farther down the empty continent. It will be the first performance of your dust I listen for and hope to charm the pants off of. For whoever you may be, I hope to give myself over to as near and unsteady proof, not of God, but of a broken line of sods who, dreaming from their cocoons, wrestled free to tell you what? What is it? You'd have me say. With our vanishing everywhere, it's fine if folks confuse us with the threadbare moonlight. If only it had not happened at all, it would not have seemed any less natural to the child. When you're called faggot by their living and their dead, the surface of your whole life descends into a field of your own pink thinking. Make their living and their dead a moral passage up through worlds, to shatter the frame around the wooded mountain range for overflowing to listen into. Thank you.
Overflowing is the right word for the feelings that I think a lot of us are experiencing right now. I wanted to here from Zoomlandia say just a valedictory thank you and a note of sincere congratulations. The 12 of you set out a year ago today, probably, to finish a book, to take random poems, stray threads of thought, and you've gathered them and you've made your tapestries whole. And I just feel so lucky, along with HR, to be part of that process. With every meeting, every workshop, every conversation, we've done that ever important work, that elementary work of asking, what is a poem for? How is a book made? Why? Why do we return again and again to this ancient art of poetry? And thank you for partaking in this circle. HR and I feel so fortunate to be part of your midst, to be there. And I want to say, keep in touch with each other, keep in touch with us, and give us news of publications and happy happenings of good writing workshops and meetings such as that. I would also like to say that we are rounding the circle again, and our window for applications are open for another 2 weeks, I would say. So if you are interested in learning about the Poetry Collective, and if you might be someone who would like to benefit from what it is HR and I have put together, please reach out to us. Please go to the website and see what it entails to apply. Thank you so much for joining in.